Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and you are watching this broadcast. I appreciate you being here with me today. I have an exciting guest to talk with today, and she's doing something that I actually started doing a couple of years ago personally, but she does it professionally. So I cannot wait to dive into this conversation with this young lady. And she is pretty incredible. Now, before we do the interview and before I do the official introduction for Yoggi, I just want to make sure that you know that we are broadcasting on 3 different channels right now. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So whichever platform it is that you're on and you're watching this, well, again, I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you watching. Make sure that you either like or subscribe or follow or whatever it is on the platform that you're on. So if you're on Facebook, it's either going to be a like and a follow or something like that. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be a subscribe, and you can always like the video because then that helps to get more exposure for it. And Periscope is going to be, I don't remember what Periscope is, honestly. I think it's a like, but it's a follow or something like that. But either way, with all of them, you can share with your friends and your followers and others. So we would love to have you share it with those people that watch your channel as well. So again, I appreciate you being here. If you've not gone to my Facebook page, let me show you. My Facebook page is going to be facebook.com/stand-in-shields. That's where you go to like it. Now, I also have a Facebook group for small businesses. It's the Small Office, Home Office Success Systems. And we'll post all kinds of content in there, and these interviews will show up in there and so forth. So if you haven't liked or subscribed or followed or any of that on Facebook, come join me in those mediums, please. Now, last thing is Systemsummitcom. So this show is being brought to you today by Systemsummitcom. You'll see the full address there, /October 2020. Systems Summits is a virtual summit that is designed for micro businesses. This summit helps micro businesses understand how to save time, money, become more efficient, and to operate their businesses better and more profitably. Most businesses, 86% of businesses in America are micro businesses, meaning they have 5 employees or less. Most are and less than $250,000 a year in revenue. What's really scary and interesting is that 94% of the small businesses, mainly micro businesses in America, make less than a 6-figure revenue number. So they're less than $100,000 a year. And so the Systems Summits are there to help micro businesses learn to create the systems needed to effectively run their businesses and grow their businesses. So hop on over to Systemsummitcom and check out the virtual summits that will be coming up quarterly. Our first one will be October 2020. So not too long from now. It's October 23rd and 24th to be exact. Okay. All right. So let me introduce this wonderful guest here. We have Yoggi Parmar, and she is on a mission to help people declutter, organize, and win their freedom from stuff. Now, Yoggi is a professional space organizer based here in Las Vegas who is on a personal mission. Okay, well, I just said that. Now, in 2010, she and her husband and 2 daughters made the decision to sell almost all of their stuff and embark on a 5-year global adventure. See, now you got a lot of people right there that they say, oh my gosh, I want to go on that 5-year adventure. That sounds amazing. They started their life-changing decluttering on July 4th, 2010, Independence Day. She left with 4 red bags, 3 laptops, 2 daughters, and 1 husband. Over the next 5 years, her family experienced many amazing adventures in India and the Far East. The experience of letting go of their stuff and enjoying the freedom of having less and living more inspired Yogi to help others do the same. So today, Yogi helps her clients in person and via her online coaching programs, in which she teaches her 5-step S.P.A.C.E, S.P.A.C.E method to help them win their freedom from stuff. So welcome, Yogi. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me here. It's such an honor to be here.
Awesome. Now, I mentioned in the introduction that you are doing something that I started a couple of years ago. I started selling off stuff and saying, okay, I need less stuff in my life, because if you want to move and go from one place to another, less stuff makes it a whole lot easier. And my vision, my dream is to be able to have my RV, whether that's the drivable RV, like the Class A kind of RV, or a camper trailer kind of thing, and just go live in different parts of the country, right? Oh. And so you can't do that if you have a lot of stuff, right?
Exactly.
So I started getting rid of some of that stuff to kind of help myself get there. So what brought you to that conclusion of decluttering and getting rid of stuff?
So back in 2010, our family was faced with a decision that we had to make due to immigration challenges that our family was facing. So we had our visa application all done, submitted. And then mid-June of 2010, we received a call from our immigration attorney at that time. And he said to us, I have not so good news. And the news is that you're not going to be able to get your visa on time before the current visa expires. So you have 2 options: either leave the country or become illegal. So neither one of those options were great, but we decided, you know what, let's work towards leaving the country. And we started the whole process 4th of July is when we actually started the whole decluttering process. I remember that day so clearly. My husband was on his way to drop family off to the airport, and he came back to our home that was completely, with stuff all over our home, right? And so he was like, what happened here? I'm like, well, we got to get this stuff all, get rid of this stuff and start our process of leaving the country. So today's a perfect day. Let's, be independent from all of this stuff. Let's be free from this. So the next 30 days from that point on became about, donating, selling, letting go of stuff. We had friends who had held auctions for us, garage sales. And by end of those 30 days, we got to a place of, getting rid of all of our stuff, about 95% of our stuff. And that's, and then September is when we kind of embarked on our journey to India. So that was kind of what started, the whole process of decluttering. And we had no idea what was going to happen once we did that. Like, our plan was never to be gone away. You mentioned we were gone away for 5 years. It never was supposed to be 5 years. We were like, okay, we'll leave the country. We'll figure out. We knew that it could take about a year or so maybe to sort of resolve that and come back. So we thought we'll just travel during that time. But that traveling became so much fun, right? Like, it gave us that family time, and just not having all of that baggage, you could say, that we had accumulated in our life, and letting go of that just allowed us to have this flow in our life that we had no experience at that level. Like, I've always been very super organized, but not having the responsibility of looking after all of that stuff and being able to go from one place to the other was just incredible. And that experience turned into a 5-year, global adventure. And it was after that is where 2015 is when we came back to the US, and landed right here in Las Vegas.
Okay. Interesting. Now, when and why did you decide you wanted to become a professional organizer?
Okay, so I've been organizing forever. Like, I've always had my home and I use the space really well and all of that. But it wasn't until 2015 when I returned home. One, it was because of the experience that we were able to create, especially those 5 years. They were priceless. The experiences I had during that time with my family was just incredible. And so when I returned, I was, just started helping, family and friends, just, with this process of decluttering and organizing. And I started to enjoy it so much that that passion basically turned into a career for me. So after being back, 2015 is when we came back. 2017, 18 is when I was like, okay, maybe I should, listen to some of my friends, because there's a lot of my friends who suggested you should become a professional organizer. And I, to be honest, I had no idea that there was such thing as a professional organizer. So it was my first time into being an entrepreneur as a business person. And the journey's been absolutely amazing, and the kind of people I've met, the transformation that's taking place in people's lives is what I truly appreciate, especially going through that experience myself and my family. Giving that gift to those who get stuck with this kind of situation, whether it's just getting their space organized, or whether it's minimizing, whether it's because they're moving, or they want to have a global adventure like the way we did.
Sure.
Anything's possible.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes friends and family and others can see that potential and see something in you that you don't see, right? And what's that?
I totally agree. I guess when we are active in their lives and they see us in a certain light, right? They recognize that. I think deep down I always knew that I was good at these skills. However, getting to that place, it needed those experiences in my life to get me to that place of realizing this is my gift,
That's right.
and I'm sharing that with others.
That's right. And that's the interesting thing about it is that it's exactly what it is. We all have a gift of some kind, and we tend to downplay that gift and not really recognize it, whereas others see it and they'll push it up and say, oh my gosh, you've got this great gift. And you're like, that's not that big a deal, really, right? Anybody can do this, and we tend to brush it off. So good for you that you did listen to them. You recognized it, and now you're starting to use it. So that's a good thing for you, and it's a good thing for the rest of us who you're going to be able to help. So now tell me this, why do you think, so now this is your professional hat on, okay? Why do you think people have so much stuff? Why do people collect so much stuff? I mean, I still have, as much as I'm trying to get rid of things, and I have pared down a lot, but I have a storage unit that still has stuff in it. And I'm going, okay, I've got to figure out how to get rid of even more of this stuff. Now, some of it is business stuff that I have to keep records for a certain amount of time and that kind of thing. Yeah. But when you go outside of that, we tend to keep things that is tough to let go. What's your take on that?
Okay, so, I believe people have a lot of stuff, and this problem of accumulating a lot of stuff starts from a very early age, like, and the issue has to do with a little bit to do with parenting as well. When we are kids, right, we get rewarded every time we do something. So we associate, with when we receive that reward as a physical item, right? It makes you feel good. So you continue to do things to keep getting these gifts, right? So it kind of starts from there, and then we end up just keeping these things. And then other reasons of how things accumulate into our space is by either inheritance from other generation. So if family members may be keeping stuff for you because it's your childhood memories, but they then tend to necessarily ask you whether it's something that you necessarily want. It's after they're gone, you're like left with all of these things, not just your stuff, but then there's their stuff as well. So it just keeps piling up. And shopping is another thing, right? So, when we go shopping, a lot of times we're not making conscious decisions. And in my experience of when we let go of that and we lived 5 years of, we had to be living a very simple life to be able to experience the kind of things we experience in our journey. Had we gone traveling and then buying stuff and then taking that with us, it wouldn't have been possible for us to do what we did, right? So there's a big, addiction to shopping as well, because it makes you feel good, and sometimes it's in the moment and not necessarily, it's like you make this buying decision in the moment. And sometimes there is situations where you can't find things because your place is not organized, where then you're going out and buying another one because it's the easiest thing to do. But if you had things in order, right, then you wouldn't get into these situations where you go and buy multiple of different things. It's only when we're going through that decluttering process is when these things, you're faced with, right? And then you're recognizing, oh my God, like, how did I manage to get 3 of this or 4 of these, right? It's through the process of sorting. I have my 5-step method that I use with my clients. That's, the first step, and the second step is, it's like the crucial, where we're sorting and purging. That's when you kind of like are confronted with all of this stuff. So things creep into our space in so many different ways. Sometimes there's a certain situation where a loved one passes away, and because they didn't have their things in order, now their family members are responsible for it. So they, now inherited that. They don't have time to deal with it. So what happens? That ends up going into some storage space, thinking I'll deal with it someday. And it just sits there, and you're paying, paying for stuff you're not using.
You're paying ridiculous amounts of money for things that you're not using, right? So yeah. Now, so what do you do then as far as the emotional attachment or hanging on to some of the memories, right? Because a lot of that stuff we hold on to is because there was a memory behind it, and we don't necessarily want to just toss it out. Sometimes it drives me nuts. I look at some people will just easily throw away things, and I go, oh my gosh, you're going to get rid of that? That's such a great memory. That's a great moment in your life or whatever. But sometimes they don't have an emotional attachment to it. I tend to have more of an emotional attachment, especially when it comes to my kids and some of their stuff, right? So what do you say to that, though? I mean, how do you deal with something like that if you've got lots of stuff, but there's these emotional attachments?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we have actually, you have this connection with everything you basically own, right? Some stuff is going to make you feel good, and some stuff may trigger certain emotions. So, for instance, I had one client I was working with, and their partner had passed away about 5 years back. Now, going into this space, they had kept everything like as if this person who has gone 5 years ago, it's still, here present. Like things like even her lipstick, was still in the counters, or by the sink. They are living daily with this presence of other the stuff that they are connected with. And it's not the stuff that they're connected with, it's it's the emotions that is connected with that. So, and it's the person, right? When it comes to our own stuff, it's like, as I said, things will either make you feel good or things that's going to trigger your emotions somehow. And if you're feeling these negative emotions, it's important you ask, why am I feeling this way, right? And when you identify where that feeling is coming and that's negative, and when you take time to let go of that or do something about that, right, you're going to shift that energy and create much more of a positive flow of energy in your environment. So I encourage releasing those negative energy that you surround yourself with, whether it's, something, sometimes it's even small things like a pebble you may have picked up on your honeymoon, right? But if you're no longer in that relationship, for instance, right, that thing is going to keep triggering not so good memory, because it's going to be a reminder of what went wrong, even though that pebble may have been initially a positive thing that, that had taken place, but because of what happened afterwards in your relationship, you're going to be more, focused on that aspect, and that's what's going to trigger those emotions.
Right.
I know personally myself, when it comes to emotional stuff, I had, I'd gone through a lot of traumatic time in my past, and it wasn't until I did the decluttering work is what I felt the most release from all of that baggage that I'd been carrying. I had been bullied at school. I had some very traumatic, experience in my childhood where I was raped, and those incidents that were not so positive in my life. What I did, with time, I journaled a lot, right? So a lot of those things were trapped in my journals, and I kept them right next to where I used to sleep, right? And so one day, as I got to understand this work better and better, I suddenly realized one day that, oh my God, like I am literally sleeping right next to all of those emotions that are stored in these journals that are not positive, they're negative, right? And no wonder I'm not able to sleep better. No wonder I'm feeling stressed out. And every time I open that drawer and I see those journals, it triggers me, and it takes me back to a place where I don't want to go to, right?
Yeah.
Even though you feel like, okay, you've dealt with it, you've let go, you've gone through the cleansing, you've released through writing, right? But these things get triggered. So what did I do? I decided that I was going to have a burning ceremony and let that go once and for all. And doing that process was just so freeing. Like I feel, that finally I can talk about this without it being, where it affects me to that level where it used to.
Right.
I'm at peace with that. I've done my forgiveness process to let go of that. And it's about doing this process. It's about healing for yourself as well. So the decluttering and organizing is such is a topic that does more than just getting your space organized. There's a lot of underneath layers of self-work that goes on with this work.
That is what's amazing. That literally just came out. You saw the post that I just put up there where Kathy Rickley said, I'm in the middle of this exact situation right now. And, condolences go out to Kathy. She recently lost her husband. And, she is literally, yes, going through some of that kind of work right there. But what you just touched on, you dove much deeper into that emotional side of it, because you talk a lot about decluttering the physical, decluttering digital, And we haven't gotten into people and obligations yet, but the mental and emotional aspect, you just literally touched on that. We tend to look at organizing as this mechanical thing of, oh yeah, it's just, reorganizing my space and moving stuff and doing this. But a lot of people don't realize that literally when we are living in a cluttered environment, that also clutters our mind, and that we have to declutter our environment. If we declutter what's around us, that also helps us to declutter the mind. And it's amazing to me how much more clearly you can think when you don't have piles of paper everywhere, right? And boxes stacked up with stuff everywhere. That, it's interesting because I go through these phases where I get all these piles everywhere and I get boxes or whatever. And then it drives me nuts and I feel like I have to clean up and I got to just go get rid of some of this stuff, right? And then you feel so much better and it's like, wow, a lot more clarity here, right? Pretty amazing. So now you talked about your S.P.A.C.E method.
Yeah.
The 5-step method. Now you kind of hit on the first two, but why don't you review for us real quick? What's the S.P.A.C.E method?
So first of all, I have to thank my husband to come up with that name, S.P.A.C.E method.
Okay.
Because he's a big Star Wars fan, and that's why the word space. But it works perfectly in terms of what the 5 steps are, which is the S.P.A.C.E stands for sort, purge, assign, containerize, and engage. I'll quickly break down what each one, how we do this. So the first one, sorting, is all about working with different categories, and then within the categories, again, you're categorizing it. So it's sorting those things first so that you can face what you have in front of you. And then the second process comes in, which is the actual purging process, which is one of the most challenging thing. And, you need to ask the right questions to make the right decisions when it comes to purging and letting go. And I have literally about 25 plus questions just on, what to ask when you are making decisions about whether to keep or to let go. And here where you are donating, you're giving away, you may be even selling. So letting go of things that is no longer serving you is all about, the second part of this method, purge. And then you're left with, what you're going to keep. Once you've let go of all the things that you no longer need or want or use, then the things that, it's basically you're left with your belongings. Everything else was stuff that you let go of. Now you're left with your actual belongings, and you need to assign them in the right location of your home. Sometimes we'll find things that are not in the right place. Like, I've been in people's homes where we'll be working on their office, and I'll find kitchen stuff in their office. I'm like, why do you have this here? This needs to go into the kitchen space. So assigning it to the right place, and then again, assigning it to the right location within that space. So that's all about assigning. And then the fourth step, which is containerizing, where you are, containing your actual belongings in the correct way. And there's various different ways of how you contain that. There's different containers, there's baskets, and it's also about solutions. Here's where we are looking for solutions on how we actually organize. So this process is key when it's going to become key to keeping it that way, which then leads me to my fifth method, which is engage. So once you've gone through all of these 4 steps, right? You've contained everything, you've organized, you've labeled it, everything looks amazing. The 5th step is one of the most important, because once you've done all the work, it's important you maintain that. So engaging in your systems that you have set up is going to be the key to keep you staying organized. And then you have to, be able to create certain rules. Like if you're going to go out, shopping for something, have certain rules. Like if this comes in, if I have the old one that's broken, then make time to do something about that, whether it needs to go to a donation place, or are you going to fix it and then sell it. So all of these things, you need to have these new habits that you create with the last step. And once these habits start, you start doing the work, right? What's going to happen is it's going to become so automatic. It's going to become like literally brushing your teeth. You'll keep your space maintained and functional, and surrounding yourself with things that really truly bring you joy and make you feel good in your environment. If there's anything that's bringing your energy level down in any way whatsoever, check in with yourself and see what about this space is making me feel this way. Is it something that's present in my environment? And chances are, yes, there's probably something there.
Right. Wow. That is an excellent method there that you're talking about. I have a little bit of a story for the assign. Back when I owned my martial arts business in Denver, I used to be fanatical about everything being in its proper space. All of the equipment, the pads that we used for drills and everything, it had a place. And I would preach this to my students, to my instructors, right? That no, the pads all go here. We don't just leave them laying on the floor. We have to put hang it where it's supposed to be, put it in its spot where it's supposed to be, even to the extent that my students got together on my 50th birthday and they made a video parable about me being so anal about where things go and all of that, right? Now, I also felt that way about the desk, that I didn't want papers on the front. I wanted it clear and clean at night so that once we were closed, if people can look in the window and they'll see everything that's on the desk, right? And it came to head at one point where when everyone that would join my martial arts school, I would ask them, how did you hear about us? And what was it that made you decide to join with us? And one lady just blew me away. She said, well, actually, it was my husband. He looked through your window on Sunday. He looked through the window and he immediately turned to me and my daughter and said, this is where I want you to bring her, right? And I said, really? What did he see on Sunday? Nobody was there. There was nothing going on. He said, it's because it was neat and it was organized. Wow. That was the reason that they joined my school, right? So that to me was an amazing story, because I said, okay, if there's one person that thought that way about it, there's others that just did not voice it, right? Yeah. And so so that was a huge lesson for me that has now stuck with me forever, because that was what they saw, that the place being organized and neat was an external, a representation of who we are and how we ran the business. So I love that you're doing right.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. All right. So we are pretty close to the end of our time here. So we've got your contact info flowing down across the bottom of the screen. Yep. Is there any one way in particular that is best for people to get in touch with you? What action would you like people to take for those that would like to talk with you? And by the way, here it's funny, Dr. Boyd posted, she said, I need everything, laughing out loud. So
well, yes, to answer that question, you need everything. You might still find with your everything, there may be still some stuff that doesn't serve you, or you don't, appreciate it in the same way. So you got to ask the right question to know whether that is true for you.
Oh, I think she might mean that she needs everything that you're offering. So
okay, I understood. I was going from, okay, she needs everything that she owns.
Yeah.
So if she needs my help, yeah, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to connect with her and have a conversation. They can, if you go to spaceintoflow.com, there is you can just schedule an appointment to chat with me right there, and we'll go from there. And I'll, for doing that, I will also give a free gift where I have a guide that talks about the 5-step method. So if somebody who just wants to get started right away and wants that gift, please, let's have them comment below so that I can send that off to them.
Okay. All right. So put a comment down below. And I shared this. I don't think I shared this with you on your screen, but on your Facebook page. But you can always go grab it and then share it with your viewers and whatnot, and then people will see it, and then you'll see any of the comments that come down as well. That kind of a thing, right? Okay. All right, great. Again, thank you for coming on with me today. I appreciate it. It was a great conversation, excellent insight into the importance of decluttering and organizing, right? Including tapping into the emotional. That is so important with it, that I think really kind of gets overlooked quite a bit. It's not just reorganizing things and putting them in a new place. It really goes much deeper than all of that. So I encourage everyone to reach out to Yoggi and, learn more about that 5-step method and what she's doing with it, because she's got some great stuff here. And she is one of the businesses that has pivoted very nicely with the COVID-19, and is because you went from just doing physical to online, right?
Yeah. So, before COVID, I used to serve clients in person, in their home office. Sometimes they needed digital, stuff. So it would, again, I would be going there in person, taking them through all of, my 5-step method with them. But after COVID, like I did have some clients prior to COVID where I had people from outside of the US who had requested, hey, Yoggi, I need help. Can you help us? I know I don't live in Las Vegas, but can you still help? And so we did some online coaching back then. But then when this COVID thing happened, it just, helped me get that online coaching program developed even further. So, and I feel like with it being more online now, I can help more people in other parts where before COVID, it would have been one-on-one in-person work. So now it makes it easier if somebody's not in Las Vegas and they can't do in-person work. The online work, there is, I've developed a really good system that it gives them help and support and accountability there on a daily basis to get those projects, complete. And they also get some videos. So yeah, so it's been amazing. And I find that the online work also, because they are doing the work, right? What's happening is the results are even more powerful, because whereas before I would go and do the work sometimes for some of the clients, some clients we worked on it together, but the online work, helps them do the work. And when they actually are doing the work, they are the one who are creating these new habits as well. And as I said, those habits then become automatic, and then they're not in that situation of being cluttered again. So it is proven really well, works really well. So yeah, I'm super excited that I get to work with people all over the world now.
That's nice. Yeah, it's all about really creating new habits. If we can create new habits, then they're going to stick. It's going to last, right? So,
Exactly.
All right. Well, once again, we're going to end our show here just in a second. But once again, this is brought to you by Systemsummits.com. And you go to Systemsummits.com/OCT 2020. It'll take you to the October virtual summit that's based that is designed for micro businesses. Those businesses with 5 employees. or less. And so if you have not liked the Stan Shields Facebook page, please go like it, and as well as the YouTube channel and on Periscope. Follow me there. And if you've not joined us at Small Office, Home Office, Success Systems, please join us over there as well. And once again, I want to say thank you to Yoggi for joining me today. This has been an amazing experience. Amazing, as people say.
Thank you, Stan, for having me too. I really appreciate this time, and it's an honor to be part of this experience with you.
Awesome. Very good. Now, hang on, Yoggi. Don't go anywhere. We're going to end our broadcast, but I just want to chat with you a little bit more. Okay.
Awesome.
So thanks again, folks, for watching. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And we'll see you next time.